Welcome everybody in this program that we have designed and we are producing today on the occasion of International Women's Day. And if I can tell you the background as to how this whole idea came of doing this kind of program, I came across with Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas, who has recently written a book wherein 9 most distinguished women of the country have been showcased. The book has been titled as Inspiring Indian Women, the Bold and Restless in Pursuit of Passion. So this is the book which has been written by Mr. Vishwas. So and I came across with him through my friend Bishan Kumar. So he told all about this, and then I decided to do a program wherein all these women who have done some distinguished work can be showcased. So the whole program that way has been conceived based on this book, and then based on the interaction that we will be having with the author, Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas, and then obviously we will be coming to the distinguished women who are there today in this floor. But let me tell you all about the 9 women who have been featured in this book. So besides the 2 women who are there today, Mrs. Bani Yadav and Mrs. Payal Kapoor. The other women who have been featured in this book are Mrs. Blossom Kochar, who is a beauty and wellness expert, then Mrs. Aruna Roy, the eminent activist, then Ritu Parana Sen Gupta, who is a renowned actor of Bengali cinema, then Mrs. Mallika Sarabhai, who is an internationally acclaimed classical dancer, then Mrs. Premlata Agrawal, who is a mountaineer and who has conquered the 7 summit, and then Mrs. Sandhya Shetty, who is karate champion and supermodel, and Mrs. Latika Nath, who is a wildlife conservationist. So let us begin with today's program, and to begin with I will welcome Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas, who is the author of this book, Inspiring Indian Women. Welcome Mr. Vishwas to the show. So to start interaction with you, since you have written this book, so I will start with the question from where this idea came of writing this kind of book wherein you decided to feature certain distinguished women.
So, for quite many years, I have been nurturing the desire to showcase the unlimited potential of women power of postmodern India. So, though women have been making significant strides, Indian women have been making significant strides in almost all fields of human endeavor since the last 2 decades, but their contribution has often been neglected or not being adequately covered in the mainstream media and also in the publishing industry at large. Yeah. So I thought that I would make a humble effort to address this lacuna in the media, and I thought about the way to an effective and innovative way is to do a series of mini biographies, because biographies have been done to death. There have been several biographies, but I would do mini biographies so that I could cover many ladies, exemplary ladies who have done more than noteworthy contribution at one go.
But then one natural question comes from whatever you told us, that once you decided that you will write such kind of book, then how did you decide who will be those women which you will feature in your book? On what basis you decided to make this selection?
Yes, of course, there are several ladies who have done more than noteworthy achievements or even pioneering achievements across India whose voices are unheard actually, but to cover all of them in a single book is not feasible because of several constraints. One of them is financial, but there are several other constraints. But so I thought that I would make a selection among them. I have to narrow down the process, and one of the criteria I have to see that the ladies to be covered are across diverse fields. I have to make the field as diverse as possible.
Yeah.
And secondly, I always made a conscious decision not to cover the Bollywood celebrities and the cricketers like that who are constantly on the limelight.
Yeah.
The ladies who are being covered are renowned in their own field. They are famous, but they are not conventional celebrities.
So did you search for such kind of names, or did you talk to your peers or to other journalists to zero down as to these will be the women who will be showcased?
Yes, I did some research through internet and talked with my peers also, but some of them I knew personally. For example, with Ms. Payal Kapoor, I came to be associated in my previous company. I did a feature. She lavished praise on me, which on my writing, which I don't deserve. I think
No,
I
no,
don't
you
deserve.
definitely deserve. You have written such a nice book.
I think I don't deserve, but then we got into association with Ms. Bani Jadhav, for example. We met for a restaurant coverage. She graciously accepted my invitation. Then we started, matlab, that ball started rolling. And then when I thought about writing this book, obviously their names came. Similarly, I knew Mallika Sarabhai also personally, did stories on her before. So what I mean to say, some of them I knew personally.
Yeah,
and some of them
but then I feel that whatever list you would have prepared, many of them would have declined your offer as well.
Yes, there are ladies who have declined my offer also, the proposition also. I had prepared a list of 13 ladies, but out of zeroing down, no, about 15, 16 rather. Then some we also struck. Me and my publisher struck down due to several other reasons, and three, four declined our offer also. Two declined outrightly, and one said that she would do the interview. I did not name the person. We went to Mumbai, and then after doing the extensive interview, she said her biography is being done by one publisher, reputed publisher, and she didn't want to clash it. So all our expenditure going to Mumbai, etc., went down the drain. Then another lady whom we did the mini biography, did photographs, everything, but at the last moment she declined.
So financially, this was your self-sustaining project, or you paid everything from your
No,
pocket?
I didn't pay a single penny. Rather, I got something. My publisher gave me some advance. He is my friend, and he supported the project. I shared my ambition with him. We many a times we discussed book projects we discussed over drinks, etc. And then he said that let me see what we can do. Actually, so I didn't pay a single penny. Rather, I got.
So financially taken care of, but then what are the challenges that you faced while doing these interviews and writing the book?
Financial, of course, the financial constraint was there because his budget is limited. So of course, there's otherwise I would have made it more extensive.
Yeah.
So yes, there are other challenges. To match the schedule of the ladies, all were very busy, and obviously, and so I have to match them and with a job. Regarding that, my present boss helped me a bit. He had given me flexible timings, flexibility wherever it is feasible.
How much time you consumed in taking interviews?
Quite a lot actually, because I believe in the old-fashioned school of writing, doing interview personally rather than telephonically or through questionnaire. I prefer that actually. So regarding that, I did 3-4 extensive interviews with each of the ladies.
Okay.
So at least 40 into 35, 36 interviews I did over a span of time.
How did you do that? You continued noting down during the interview, and all it was a video interview, and
all noting down, and then of course what they are saying exactly it would not come. As you are a renowned journalist to be knowing, it was to be rewritten in my way without changing the facts. And of course some imagination and all those things has to be also incorporated, some imagination.
And how much time did it take in actual writing?
Quite a lot, because I have to take time off from my schedule. So it took about actual writing about 6 months.
Okay. So what kind of support you got from, I mean, all these ladies who you have showcased in the interview? I mean, the support or, I mean, whatever you were looking for, all that was made possible by these women or?
Yes, the ladies who have been featured, they supported me wholeheartedly. मतलब, I said some declined the offer, some of the, when I went, and then after doing the interview, she backed out.
Yeah.
But those who have been featured, they supported me.
So would you
wholeheartedly.
like to narrate certain experiences that you would have got while interviewing these women? Any good moments that you want to share with us all?
Narrating one experience, I can say that when I first met Rituparna Sengupta, she is my crush, was my crush since my adolescence. So
Yeah.
I was almost all trembling, and so that was a very good experience. And traveling with her, she was in the car itself. She couldn't give the time, so in the commuting, while she was going from one place to another to attend one event, we did the interaction. In the car only I noted down. So that was quite nice.
So you want to continue this because only 9 women have been featured. So there are so many women in this country, particularly as you have written
Yes,
in your book, in the post-modern era. More and more women are coming up. That is how we also in DME decided to celebrate this womanhood in such a large manner today. And on Monday also we are having another session with the women from different countries of the world. So given all that perspective, would you like further to make an attempt to showcase more women in any book that you would have thought of now?
Yes, I have. If the book receives, it has just been released a month back. So, if it receives the critical and commercial critical acclaim and the commercial popularity, then I would definitely like to venture because obviously 9 is too less a number. I want to do a sequel of this book, definitely another. Also, many other projects are planned. Regarding.
I mean, some more projects. I mean, you are planning
Not
for
necessarily with featuring women, other book projects,
Other books,
but yes, I'm quite passionate, keen on doing another book on this some exemplary ladies of postmodern India.
But you have been a professional journalist. So from where, from journalism to an author, how this switchover came?
They are more or less they are quite related to each other. So just I am quite interested. I have been quite interested in narrative journalism. So writing the book was just taken a step forward to that. As you can see, the book has been framed in the manner of narrative journalism, which has been done in caravan style. But there is a slight twist, which I have been inspired by my present boss. He said that start with the intro with a catchy note. There is a break in narrative journalism. Some modern style is there with some incidents or some very memorable what can I say, anecdote or something has been put in the intro, and then we are following the narrative pattern like that.
Thank you, Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas, for talking to us and for sparing time for this program. And this is a program that we are producing today to remind everybody that this is a program that we are producing on the occasion of the International Women's Day. And since the whole inspiration came from this book that Mr. Vishwas has written, and then we decided to have this kind of show. And today we have 2 women with us, the distinguished women who have been featured in this book, Inspiring Indian Women. Mrs. Bani Yadav, who is an expert in motor car racing and who has made really a mark for herself, for India, in the entire world. And then we have Mrs. Payal Kapoor with us, who is a renowned interior decorator and who has also done so many projects in the country, particularly the Palace on Wheels. So she did all that interior decoration, and she is again an internationally renowned person, and we are definitely proud of all such women who has taken our society forward, who have taken this whole country forward, and this actually represents the kind of change that India is witnessing in 21st century. So with this, now we are now moving to another segment of the program, and let us move forward to discuss some of the contribution and the achievements that these most distinguished women have there in their life and career. To begin with, I would like to talk to Mrs. Payal Kapoor, who is a renowned interior decorator and who has made a mark for herself for whatever work she has done over the years, and to name any big project in the country, and she is there. She came to limelight while she started doing the project of Palace on Wheels, and thereafter she has done her interior decoration work, the whole design, the execution and everything in most of the big hotels in the country and other projects also. So let us know from her only what all she has done, and then we can know her achievements, her career and the things that is yet to be done. So welcome Mrs. Payal Kapoor to the show. So I would like to know, to begin with, as to from where your journey started. Did you deliberately decide to become an interior decorator, or it somehow happened, and then how you move forward in your journey?
Well, to begin with, I never thought I'll venture out to be an interior designer, an interior architect actually. Okay. I think we all kind of, when we are young, we all think differently, and my journey was that I thought I'll be happily married to a rich guy and I'll be traveling all over the globe. Well, that never happened. So I didn't realize that I'll have to dig the well and take out the water and, then probably satisfy my whatever I wanted to do. But having said that, I started off pretty early in life. I started working at the age of 20, and I ventured out on my own at the age of 22. And I guess, like I always say, that there is no shortcut to honesty and hard work. Yeah. And then, yes, of course, the divine force has to be kind to give you the opportunities. And the opportunities thrown your way, you have to do the best to your ability, because that's how you get more work. So, when we started, I started doing the first big project that I did on my own was the Imperial Hotel, Delhi. And thereafter, since I was involved with Umaid Bhawan, Jodhpur, during my time when I was working with somebody, they offered me to kind of come on an independent capacity and work for them. So I did that virtually from 1990 onwards, 1991 onwards till mid 2000, and that was done. Then, of course, Palace on Wheels was a competition, because by the time 1995, I was kind of mostly done with most of the palace properties across India, especially Rajasthan. So I would say that I did have a couple of, added advantage over the others when it came to doing heritage properties, palace restorations, working with the royal families of India. That probably held me in a better stead over.
But you would have faced the competition from your other competitors.
Yes. See, you have to also understand one thing. This is a very male-dominated society. The industry. It's not an industry where women really come to the fore. Architects, etc. Mostly men. I mean, in my times, we didn't have so many institutes, and it was just a very niche kind of a thing, and it involved a lot of travel and involved dealing with men. And even now, I think I'm a single woman army, because most of my team of 250 odd people are mostly men. Like labor, carpenters, my masons and everything. So the whole team is essentially.
But why don't you encourage more women to have more women in your team?
But the problem in India is that we'll probably get them in the studio level, which is as architects or designers. But as carpenters, how many women are there? So, and masons, how many women are there? I'll have Probably, yes, of course, I encourage women to be there, and because women come with the little children also at side, but we do have to be a little sensitive and careful that they look after the children, and they cannot be doing things like climbing scaffoldings and stuff like that. See, our whole socio-economic strata is such. So you can't have women climbing scaffoldings with the ghungat and with their saris and stuff like that. But having said all that, women are doing extremely well, and whether it's a factory or whether it's whatever, my office has a lot of women. I mean, it's a mostly a woman-oriented field when it comes to interior designers and architects and things, because times have
But
changed.
when it comes to designing, when it comes to creativity, I feel that women must
would
be
not-
doing much better than
No,
men.
I don't think that's fair, because I think you cannot justify this as, put it as a gender thing. I would always say women are more meticulous, but so are men. So it's not really to say that, we are in a gender kind of a thing that, okay, men do it better and then women. No, it has to come from within. It's got nothing to do with the gender. And but having said that, yes, both genders have to work honestly and hard work, and focus has to be there. So that is something that the new generation needs to kind of figure out.
But then what do you think? How the women can carve out a space for themselves? Because I mean, in most of the sectors, not only in your sector, the men are always dominating. So what do you think? How the women can create a space for themselves in this men-dominated society?
See, again, when it comes to things like carpentry, mason, floor, cuttings and things, it's going to take a while. I mean, let's be honest. I don't see India getting there, because these things are more, this thing on men, because even like I said, our socio-economic structure is such that our marble masons are now, where have you seen a marble mason being a woman? And I don't know when that stage is going to come. But yes, back when it comes to planning, when it comes to execution, when it comes to support system, the women are doing very well. And like I said, they are more focused. Yes, they are creative, but so are men. When you talk about encouragement, fact is the encouragement has to begin from the parents itself. I can only be encouraging them if they come and work for me.
So did you get the right kind of encouragement from your parents?
Oh yes, we were raised we are three sisters, but I think we were raised more as boys than girls. And coming from a service background, I think my father always said that you need to be assets to the family you go to and not liabilities. So that kind of stayed with us, and we were always encouraged at a younger age to go out there and figure it out for ourselves, rather than be a housewife, or not that there's anything wrong with, because I think I'm also a housewife, but there's more to it.
But what kind of challenges you faced in 1990s and what kind of challenges you are facing today? So how nature of these challenges has differed?
See, in the 1990s, there was, very few women were encouraged to go out on their own and travel like I did independently, catch a flight, go here, go there. Those were things probably, parents also were a little skeptical. Times were not probably whatever. We didn't have computers. So everything that we did with hand, whether it was set square, T square, etc., etc. So ours was more like hand oriented, think out of the box. Whereas today, kids, I think, is more copy paste, because what happens today is that Google, Wikipedia, we have all the information at the click of a button. Whereas our times, we didn't really have that. I mean, that was something, if I was to do a project, I had to first do some kind of research. Go into archives, look up, what is this state all about, what exactly happens, what was, let's say if I'm doing a palace property, what is Art Deco, what is Art Nouveau, what exactly happened, what are the colors. Today, you can just sit in your office and it's all there for you.
Yeah. So, should I ask you about your experience with Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas, who decided to write this book, Inspiring Indian Women, and who has featured you in that book. So, there's a lot of interaction would have been happening with him all through this process. So, what would you like to say about Mr. Vishwas, about the book that he has written?
See, with Mr. Biswas, what had happened was that he had approached me prior to this book a few years, and he was off and on writing about me as a professional in terms of vis-a-vis the kind of projects that I was doing for various hotel review books the magazines that he was kind of, I think, working as a journalist. So, having given so many interviews now over last 30 years in international as well as print and electronic media, mm, when I do read a professional who's written about you and who's done his homework well, it's very different from the new lot which just says, okay, I need the story tomorrow. And there's hardly anything which there. So I did tell him that I think you're a very, amongst the very few people who I can count on my fingertips, who are from the old school of, journalism, where they believe in meticulously, every explicit detail down to the integrities of what it should be and the way they kind of, the flow of writing. So that's why I always told him that your flow of writing is very good and you do your homework very well. So when he approached me, he said, well, your journey has been whatever. But I mean, all along, we never really touched the personal aspect. It was more on the professional aspect that he was covering me as a professional for various projects that I was doing. So when he came up with this idea, and I said, okay, fine, I would love to be associated with this kind of a thing that you're doing, because I had a whole lot of, confidence in his writing, and I knew he would actually absolutely do justice to what he wants to do. So yes, the interaction was more close to 2 years, off and on, series of questions. And like I said, he's from the old school of thought, so he would actually come and face to face have an interview, jot down his points, and then clarifications, did you say this? Was it like this? So the corrections were there and all that. So 2 years, I think we, and then the first draft, when it came out, and I had to correct certain things which were probably, needed standard to be corrected. So having said all that, and I stick to the words that, yes, he's a very meticulously, he writes very beautifully. His
the book is actually very well written.
So his flow of words, his flow of, you don't feel that there is a dull moment anywhere, he's not being very monotonous.
Ms. Payal Kapoor, there are so many students also among us. These are all studying journalism and mass communication in DME Media School, Delhi Metropolitan Education. So they would also like, and then the teachers of the media school, they are also there. So I asked the students and the teachers if they would like to ask something.
How you got the inspiration of coming into this field? Like, what was like aim ऐसे जो आया? Is there any story or like you are inspired by anything?
So the inspiration, like I said, I was also like you guys, a student, happy-go-lucky, and I thought I'm going to have a cushy life. But when I started working, I mean, when I passed out from my college, I think it was just a Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I was handpicked by somebody and I was working. And, the journey, like I always tell my students, that it was so pathetic. I thought, I was cat's whiskers after 4 years. And when I actually went there in one day, my whole ego was crashed because they gave me something to do and I'd never even done it. And I tell my office people, I said I was made to go and buy petticoat, it was given a petticoat or a sari to say, okay, go and match the fall. And I used to say, this is not a job of an architect or an interior designer. Why am I being stooped to such a level? But there was again a hidden agenda that, they wanted me to understand how close can I get to the color? I should not go wrong. See, your mentors know how to train you. And over a period of time, that 1 year that I was working for the, probably I think 1.5, 2 years that I was working for the organization, I picked up so much. And subconsciously what had happened was that I got married to the profession. So I started enjoying what I was doing. And I think for any profession, whether it's not just mine, even for yours or for anything, you just have to be very passionate about what you do and you need to like what you do. And over a period of time, what happened was that I kind of got married to my profession. I was like a horse with blinkers who could not think of anything except my work. And like I said, without opportunities, without the, opportunities coming your way, you really can't do very much. So when the opportunities started coming and I started expressing, and what is design? Design is what you think, is what expression you put on paper and you see it coming live. And when it comes live is the time when, you really say, oh wow. And then over and above that, if you get appreciated for what you've done, then that's like even that's your inspiration, right, to even move forward. So that's exactly what happened to me, and the journey began.
So any other question? Yeah.
मैम एज़ यू सेड आज की जो सोसाइटी है वो मेल डोमिनेंट है, तो आपने कहा कि कारपेंटर वुमेन नहीं हो सकती हैं, वो प्रॉब्लम होता है। आपने साड़ी की बात की, तो क्या आपको लगता है कि ये सब चीज़ें इंडिया में ज़्यादा होती हैं वुमेंस को लेकर, कि साड़ी पहनी हुई है तो वो ये काम नहीं कर पाएंगी, या फिर जब हम कोई काम की स्टार्टिंग करते हैं तो हर कोई नीचे लेवल से करता है, तो हम एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं यहाँ पर कि हम बड़े बन के या फिर आगे जाके ही हम वुमेंस को देखना चाहते हैं, उस लेवल पे हम नहीं देखना चाहते हैं, तो उसमें आप क्या कहेंगे?
नहीं, मैंने ये बिल्कुल नहीं बोला कि साड़ी पहनने से औरत की कोई चीज़ कम हो जाती है। मैंने ये बोला कि इंडिया में प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जैसे अब आप लेबर अगर आप साइड पे देखें, वो अपना बच्चा भी संभाल रही है, साड़ी भी पहनी हुई है। हमारे यहाँ स्कैफोल्डिंग है, तो स्कैफोल्डिंग पे चलेगी बच्चे को लेके, पॉसिबल नहीं है। कारपेंट्री है, वो उसको स्किल नहीं दी गई कारपेंटर की। अब आप कितनी औरतें हैं गांव में जो देख रहे हैं, जो कि आज की डेट में कितना कुछ कर रही हैं जो पहले नहीं करती थी। अगरबत्ती रोल करने से लेके चीज़ें पैक कर रही हैं, पैकेजिंग में आ गई हैं, गारमेंट्स चेक कर रही हैं, कितना कुछ कर रही हैं। उनकी जीन्स पहनी हुई है या साड़ी पहनी हुई है या स्कर्ट पहनी हुई है, से उनकी कैपेबिलिटी में कोई फ़र्क नहीं आने वाला है। यह आपकी माइंडसेट है कि आप साड़ी पहन के भी इतना अच्छा काम कर सकती हैं और आप एक वेस्टर्न आउटफिट भी पहन सकते हैं। ये हिंदुस्तान की माइंडसेट है जो कि चेंज होनी चाहिए। तो मेरे हिसाब से एज, कपड़े, ये सब चीज़ें मैटर नहीं करती हैं। आपकी स्किल और आपका कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल होना चाहिए वो करने के लिए, और आपको ये सोचना चाहिए कि कोई भी काम छोटा नहीं है। अभी भी हम लोग उस चीज़ को देखते हैं कि अरे वो बाथरूम साफ़ करती हैं, अरे तो क्या हुआ, काम तो करती हैं ना। तो ये तो है नहीं कि किसी के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है। हम तो हमेशा अपने घर में भी जो लेडीज़ आती हैं काम करने के लिए, कहते हैं आप काम कर रहे हो, आपको इज्जत की नज़र से देखना चाहिए। मेरे को उन लेडीज़ के लिए ज़्यादा इज्जत है जो आके बाहर, घर से बाहर निकल के काम करती हैं। क्या काम करती हैं उससे कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, अच्छे से करती हैं, दैट इज़ व्हाट इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट।
जी, सो और किसी का? हाँ,
Ma'am, a venture requires investment. So, how did you manage your funds? And when you did it, how you made sure that you get appropriate returns?
मेरे पास कोई पैसे नहीं थे। सो आई हैड व्हाट हैड हैपेंड वाज, जो भी यू नो आई हैड वर्कड फॉर अ कंपनी, तो जो भी थोड़े बहुत सैलरी मिलती थी, आई थिंक उस टाइम 1000 रुपये सैलरी थी और 2 बस चेंज करके जाना पड़ता था। तो जो थोड़े बहुत कपड़े जूते खरीदने के बाद जो बच जाते थे वही था। एंड आई थिंक आई स्टार्टेड ऑफ विद एन इक्विटी ऑफ 5000 रुपीज़। एंड मेरा जो पहला ऑफिस था, मुझे अभी तक याद है, वो भी मेरे ब्रदर ने मेरे को बोला था कि चलो हमने ये किराए पे लिया हुआ है तो तुम यहाँ पे काम कर सकते हो। और वहाँ नीचे भैंसें बंधी होती थी, तो किसी भी क्लाइंट को लेके नहीं आ सकते थे क्योंकि गांव टाइप का ऑफिस था। बट मेरे लिए क्या था कि मेरे को थोड़ा सा स्टाफ बिठाना था, खुद काम करना था, और उस काम को जनरेट करने के लिए जो हमें ड्राइंग्स बनानी पड़ती थी या एक स्टूडियो होना ज़रूरी था। तो वो स्टूडियो एक वो था। एंड देन यू नो व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड आउट वेंचरिंग आउट ऑन योर ओन, एज यू मेंशन्ड, उससे जो पैसे आए, इट्स ऑल अबाउट सेविंग, इट्स ऑल अबाउट यू नो मैनेजमेंट, इट्स ऑल अबाउट प्लानिंग, कि वो पैसे आए उसको फिर आपने आगे अपने इक्विपमेंट खरीदी ऑफिस के लिए, जो आपको चीज़ें चाहिए होती थी। क्योंकि मैंने कभी किसी से पैसे लिए नहीं। मेरे को लगा कि आई एम टू इंडिपेंडेंट, और यू नो प्रॉबेबली आई फेल्ट आई मीन आई कैन डू इट ऑन माई ओन। इट वॉज मोर लाइक टू टेल योर सेल्फ कि नहीं, इट्स अ चैलेंज, आई नीड टू प्रूव टू द वर्ल्ड। लाइक आई विल गिव यू एन एग्जाम्पल। इंडियन पेरेंट्स सबके होती है कि भाई अब आप 22, 23 के हो गए हो तो बस शादी कर लो। एटलीस्ट इन माई टाइम इट वॉज लाइक दैट। सो माई फादर सेड नो नो नो, यू हैव टू गेट मैरिड। सो आई सेड लुक, मेरे को 1 साल का टाइम दे दो, अगर मैंने अपनी गाड़ी खरीद ली अपने पैसों से तो आप 1 साल और मेरे को दे दोगे। सो ही सेड यू नो आई मीन कितना कर लेगी, यू नो, लाइक आई रिमेंबर माई पेरेंट्स सेड कितना कमा लोगे, 1500-1800 रुपये, उसमें गाड़ी थोड़ी ना आती है। सो विद इन 9 months आई बॉट माई सेल्फ अ मारुति 800। उस टाइम मारुति ही आती थी, एंड दैट वॉज अ बिग थिंग। सो आई डिडंट नो हाउ टू ड्राइव। So over a period, you know, while having lunch, I told my father, आप मेरे साथ चलोगे, मेरे ना एक गाड़ी खरीदी है, मेरे को उसको लेके आना है घर। तो he said, she's joking, she couldn't have done it. So when I took him actually to the, you know, Maruti showroom to pick up the car, he was amazed. He says, ये कब खरीदी? So I said, I saved and I told you, अब मेरे को 1 साल और दोगे शादी करने के लिए, अभी आप मेरे को फोर्स नहीं करोगे। So these are small challenges that you have to tell yourself, कि, you know, and then I think, like I said, कि I mean, आपके रास्ते खुलने लग जाते हैं, because people do realize you are actually very dedicated. So जब वो dedication होती है तो अपने आप ही आपके एक वे जो होता है वो आपको मिलने लग जाता है।
So definitely, whatever questions have been answered by Mrs. Payal Kapoor, all these young people would have understood that it's not an easy thing for anybody to create a space for himself or herself, and particularly for women, it is comparatively more challenging in Indian society. But then, if you are ready to face those challenges, if you are passionate about what you want to do, then definitely nothing is impossible in this world. First of all, I would like to know from you, Bani, as to from where your journey started, because whatever we have read in the book, this inspiring Indian women that has been authored by Mr. Vishwas. So a lot of things have been narrated there, but we would like to know from you only, from where this idea came, how this idea came to join an unconventional field, and how did you start?
I would like to state here that my biggest inspiration is my father. He is a mechanical engineer and he's a very good driver. Now he's nearing 80, but still he's very good with his car. He's very deft. And my early memories were sitting on his bike on a chair which he had specially made for me as on the carrier. And with the wind blowing into my face, I think I must have been all of 2 or 3 years of age. That's what I think got me excited about speed. And throughout my childhood, I have seen him drive and I've enjoyed his drive. I have always been noting how his footwork was on the car and how he handled the car. And I also remember once we were going to Badrinath and we had an ambassador and I think the brakes failed somewhere in between. But he being himself, he never told any of us, me, my mother, my brother, we were there in the car. And he kept driving at a speed so that the car doesn't roll back, nor do we know that there are no brakes in it. And that is one very good sign of a very, very expert driver. And at one point of time where he thought the ground was a little level, then he told all of us, get down and put some rocks behind the wheels.
Yes, yeah.
And that's when we got to know, yes, the brakes had failed and he had been driving all the while without letting us know that what was actually transpiring. But that's what I would say, that he has been throughout my guide, my teacher, and it comes to me in the genes. And my mother has also been a very good driver. She did participate in some rallies in her college days, young days. So it's purely which comes to me in the genes. It's just that it took me time to realize my dream because once you get married, you get busy with your life, your job, your children, your extended family, in-laws. And practically in India, women really do not get to live their dreams. But thankfully for me, there has always been support for me from my husband, who knew that I wanted to be a rally racer, who knew that I wanted to explore my dream and live my passion. So he kept supporting me.
Yeah, but then there would have been financial constraints as well, because this is something which involves a lot of finances. There's a cost involved. So how did you manage with that all?
So that's why I started at the age of 43. There is a lot of financial constraints. It's a very, very expensive sport. And motorsports is considered as one of the most expensive sports in the world. I kept working and I kept saving for myself so that I could enter the sport, because you require a car which is well prepared. There are modifications which are required if you actually want to do rally racing. So it took me time to enter the sport, because definitely we both were working, but we were not earning great. It was just enough to sustain ourselves and our kids. But over a period of time, we built our resources, and then we thought, yes, now it is time. Kids also do not require me so much, and I can splurge on my passion. And I think at the age of 43, I took that plunge and I have never looked back.
But then you told us the kind of support that you got from your family, from your father, from your husband. But then what about the social acceptance, entering into an area wherein normally women do not enter? So what kind of social problems you faced there?
It is definitely a man's sport. For a woman to create space for herself is next to impossible. Especially when I entered, I faced a lot of backlash from the men who were racing because male ego is so high. It's a predominantly male sport. They do not take it easy that a woman can come and defeat them in their own game. And I was not ready to give up. I took it all in my stride and I kept to myself. I took it as a learning for myself that what they are saying, it would make me more stronger. My resolve was even more stronger day by day that I have to show to these men that they cannot own the tracks. The car does not know my gender. The road does not know my gender. Right? So only I know that I'm a woman and I'm driving the car. So why should I give the men that opportunity to laugh at me? And over the years, I have shown to them that you will have to accept me. If I'm not better than you, I'm not less than you.
So what have you experienced all these years, over these years, whether more women have got some inspiration from you and more women are entering into these sports?
Yes, I think I did manage to open the doors for a few more women to enter the sport. And I can very proudly say that there are many more women today in motorsports than when I entered the sport. When I entered the sport, I think there were just 4 or 5 of us who were actually participating, and that too, the other women were like one-off rally, they would come and go away. So I was consistently entering all the rallies, races, taking part. So I happened to build my bridges and make a niche for myself. And I think the acceptance now for women is much more in motorsports than it was earlier. But still, having said that, there are still a lot of biases. We do not get sponsorships. Companies do not want to take women drivers as their main drivers. And because of that, there are a lot of, I think, women who back out because it is definitely an expensive sport. So we do require support from not only our families, but from corporates, from people who would love to sponsor sports, but they just take a back step because a woman is a driver.
Yep.
So they should understand that the car does not know that it's a
Yeah,
woman.
Exactly. And since you have been featured in this book, Inspiring Indian Women, which has been authored by Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas, and he would have been interacting with you quite long for writing this book. So what has been your experience with regard to this, writing this book and with Mr. Vishwas?
I would like to compliment him because he's a very persevering person who would sit with you for hours and bring up questions which are so intricate, which normally another person would not ask you in an interview. You know, the crux is that you have to bring out the inner me or my inner journey, not just talk about fluff. And that is the reason why I agreed to him, because when I interacted with him earlier for another feature which he did, he was very appreciative about the fact how the journey has been, and he wanted to know. His inquisitiveness actually got me thinking that this is a person who can do full justice to my story, even though it's a mini biography, but he will bring out all the nuances out of it and make sure that he shows the right picture. And hats off to him for bringing out this book. And it's not only inspiring for me, but I think most of us would take inspiration from all the ladies featured in it.
So what is your unfinished agenda now? Because I mean, you are growing, so obviously there is a certain age to any sports. So till which time you would like to continue with it? And once you stop as a sports person, would you like to train the future generations in this?
I think age is just a number. But yes, still having said that, I would say I'm already training more women to come into the sport, because the sport needs more young blood, not only women but men also. And I would love to pursue it as far as possible, but maybe I give myself another 2 3 years, and then I would like to cross and sit on the other side and help with introducing the women to the sport, and also to be officiating and generate new ideas where we can have more people joining into the sport.
Yeah. So there are media students as well, those who are pursuing journalism and mass communication in DME Media School, Delhi Metropolitan Education. They would also like to interact with you and to ask certain questions. Yeah. Who are there to?
A very good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, as you said, your parents supported for your dream, like you wanted to be a car racer. Ma'am, अगर आपके पेरेंट्स ने सपोर्ट नहीं किया होता, like they would be against you, so what would you choose, your parents and family or your dreams? Would you take it on your risk?
I would just say there's a very fine line between choosing between your parents, your dreams, and all. So you have to balance it. My parents, I would say, my father taught me driving. I learned seeing him. He also gifted me a car. I had made him promise to me when I passed 10th that if I get a certain number of marks, will he gift me a car so that I can drive? And he did gift me that car because I managed to get so many marks. And at that point of time, driving licenses and that age criteria was not such a big thing. I would just say that they helped me grow in terms of as a person, to learn new things and to explore myself. They've always been very, very supportive of everything which I do. They have treated me more like a boy than being a girl. Even though when I fought with my brother when I was young, I would always say, you love him more. But that's not a fact. They even today love me more, and they take my opinion more than my brothers. So I still say I would choose my parents over my dreams, but in my journey, they have always been supportive, and I never had to actually pick and choose.
Yeah. Anybody else who would? Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I want to ask that, as we know, most of the sports person take the retirement between the age of 30 to 40. But you started at the age of 43. So what was the source of motivation? Because you come to from Indian background, and which seems to be easy, but it's really not. So what kept you motivating?
You very rightly said that most sports person retire around 35, between 35 and 40. And I started my journey at 43. Again, like I said earlier, age is just a number. And I think the right time is when you are ready for that, what you want to do. And I was ready at the age of 43 when I thought my younger son has passed 10th, and now I can devote more time to myself, to my sport, to my passion. And that's when I took that plunge. And even now, my younger son, he drives for India in the Auto Asia Gymkhana format. He's also an internationally renowned driver. So we both are competitors to each other on the tracks. And that makes me even more proud, because I am competing with my own child. What more does a parent want to be able to compete with their own children in a sport which all of them love so much? So I would just say the journey starts when you are ready for it.
That's true, and that's something which everybody must learn, that there is never late. I mean, better late than never. Whenever you decide to pursue your passion, anytime you can do, but then obviously the younger generation is benefited in so many ways. So you people have everything at your disposal, right from technology to all support of the families. 20, 30 years back, this kind of situation was not there in our country. So obviously anybody can reach to any heights once you decide that you want to do something. So moving on, we have Mr. Bishan Kumar with us, who is the editor-in-chief of Spirits magazine and who has been working in journalism for quite long, working for the best of the newspapers in the country, and he has been involved in journalism in so many ways, and this book also, this Inspiring Indian Women, which Mr. Swarnendu Vishwas has written. He has written a review of the book as well, and he is today with us. So we would like to know something more about the book and the content. So welcome Mr. Bishan Kumar to this program. What would you like to say about the book that has been written by Mr. Vishwas?
Say, I must compliment you for holding this event. This is most apt for this day. I also envy Swarnendu for being able to be closely interacting with such a fascinating woman, which I had never had a chance to do that. And I very firmly believe, with my full conviction, that women are the best creation by God. I don't know why men were created. I think we are created by the whatever leftover mold were there. We were the best creations. And writing about the women must have been a fascinating journey for Swarnendu. When he talked about his book to me, I really got interested in knowing more about it. And he discussed many details about the book and who the women are being featured. So I told him that the best part of the book has to be its beginning. मुखड़ा अच्छा हो तो आदमी को अट्रैक्ट करता है. मुखड़ा मतलब एनी चीज. इट्स ए गुड म्यूजिक, फर्स्ट नोट, फर्स्ट पैरा ऑफ a song. So narrative has to be very lucid and interesting. I'm very happy that he accepted my suggestion, and the book, all the ladies, their biographies have started by an interesting anecdote of their lives. It's a very interesting book. I read it from first page to last, and very interesting, very inspiring tales of the women have come up. I hope that all the students sitting here and the people who are watching this program get to read it and get inspired.
Since we are organizing this program on the occasion of this International Women's Day, so you have already said very good things for women, but further if you can tell us, since all these young persons are there, part of this program, any inspiring thing to the young crowd and particularly the young women?
See, I give you one example from my own life. The lady sitting behind me is my wife, Shalini Kumar. I think she's the only women editor of a magazine of alcoholic beverages in India. This is one, like Payal and Bani Yadav had said, this alcoholic field is a male-dominated field. Women have no business to be there in the field of alcoholic beverages. In 12 years back, when Charlie and me, both of us left our job to start this magazine, that she handled the entire operation of the magazine. She was the first face of Indian lady who was closely interacting with all the males in the companies of different big companies. And today, I think she is the most celebrated face. I feel so happy to see that as she said, very nice sentence you made that is the right time when you are ready to do it. I think she was ready 12 years back to come in the full form and do it. So whatever you aspire to do in today's world, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
You have to have a commitment, dedication, and passion. You should believe in yourself that yes, you can do it. Then you can certainly achieve a success.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bishan Kumar. So let us talk to Shalini as well. Shalini, can you tell us something, being a woman and achieving so many milestones, and now you are editing this magazine. What would you say about your journey, the achievements that you have made, and anything inspiring that you would like to share with the young women?
This is again whatever everyone said earlier. There is no shortcut for success. You need to be passionate about whatever you choose in your life. You just do it with passion and hard work and stick to it. And The day will come when you will be successful and you will get whatever you want in your life. All the best.
Thank you, Shalini. So moving on, let us tell everybody that this is a program that we are recording today in Studio 62. At the same time, this program is on the Zoom platform because in journalism and mass communication, we have 500 plus students in this institution. So not everybody was possible to be accommodated in the studio. So other people have joined this program and enjoying this program on the Zoom platform. And they have also been asking certain questions. So I will take one question which has been asked by Rimjim Dubey. She asked, do you think by celebrating Women's Day will empower women? Payal, would you like to answer this question?
I think we are already empowered. We don't need one single day to be, proving that we need any empowerment. I think we're doing a great job.
Thank you, Payal. There's another question which is, as you said, mindset needs to be changed. We talk of empowering women, but nothing happens. We talk about problems, but never of solutions. Bunny, would you like to say something on this?
I would just like to say, nobody else can empower you. The empowerment comes from within you. The day you think you can make a change, that's the day when you become empowered. So do not wait for people from outside to come and say that, here, look, now you're empowered. That doesn't happen. Believe in yourself, trust yourself, have faith in your dreams. That's when you become empowered.
I want to ask you that where do you see motorsports over next 5 to 6 years, like in terms of events, especially in terms of participant, like especially women participants, because as you said, this is a male dominant sport. So
like I said earlier, that the motorsports is growing and I can see a lot of women participating now. The sport is growing. It will take its time to grow further. But yes, the women are entering motorsports and they will bring it to the fore. And luckily for us, the sports ministry in India today has recognized motorsports as one of the main sports. And motorsports people are now entitled to apply for government jobs also, which is a big achievement for motorsports fraternity in large, because till now it had been sidelined as another sport. So we did not get any recognition or support. But now with the government recognizing it, I'm sure the sport will grow and more women will enter it.
We also have with us Mr. Anupam Banerjee, who is the publisher of this book, Inspiring Indian Women. So let us talk to him as well to know more about this book. You provided all kind of support to this book. So what will you say about this?
See, basically idea came from Mr. Biswas only, and he is my childhood friend. We are school and college friend, and I like this idea, and I thought this type of book should come not only in the market, but people should know about this. And these women, and normally they came from very middle class, and many of them are at the like Premlata Agarwal, one of the lady. She has started mountaineering at the age of 35. So it's a very good thing, and people should know it. We have published earlier also books like Women in Ancient India, Vedic to Bhatsan, and on other inspiring type things. And actually he wrote very nicely, and people in the market are accepting this. And we have already circulated the book in the market. So let's see the future of the book, and we hope this will go well, and people, at least young generation, will learn from this book.
So that is how we are closing this program on this note, that if you have passion, this is what this book also talks about, and this is what Payal Kapoor and Bunny Yadav has told us also. All the younger generation must get an inspiration, rather everybody should get an inspiration, because we all need to get inspired from the work of the other persons, and with this inspiration obviously we will venture into a better society, in a society wherein women will be having more space. That is what can be the resolve on this International Women's Day. Thank you all.
I'm Malika Sarabhai, and I'm delighted to be on this DME initiative on their TV. You know, I'm delighted to be in this book, but I have tried to live life my way. I was privileged to come from a family which also lived life in their own fashion, without being afraid of what society would say, without being afraid of what the community would say, how things would look, how people would react. Rather, they tried to follow their own truth, and that was the kind of family and environment that I was brought up with. And very early in life, I was faced with this question of whether I wanted to be like everybody else, liked by everybody else, or whether I wanted to follow my own drama or my own truth. And I remember having a discussion with my father, because he was the one who was around then, and then deciding that I wanted to do it my way. Most women live their lives by the rules and the script set by somebody else. They kill themselves inside. They never flower. They never become the people they were meant to be, because they always fear the criticism of society. But who is this society? The society is made up of people like us, just as frightened and just as unhappy probably. So why is it that we are afraid of this society? And what does it really mean to say, I don't need this society? We always are able to find people who are like-minded. We might go through very rough times, and to think that the book has women who have not gone through rough times is wrong. We've all gone through very rough times, perhaps very differently from other people, but we've all gone through times when we were abused, when we were stoned, when we were criticized, when our families decided that they didn't want anything of us. As I said, my family didn't do it, but society certainly continues to do it. But I can stand high and tall because I think that I have followed my own truth. I have not done harm to anybody knowingly. I don't speak dishonestly. I do not follow what my heart and my mind tells me is wrong. I draw a line between what is right and what is wrong. For me, ethical questions are of great importance to my life. Just because there is a powerful person who heads an organization, who heads a government, if that person is doing wrong, and if I'm in that institution or that organization, it becomes my duty to say that is wrong. I will have my arguments, but I will speak my truth. And if I have to take the consequences, I would rather take the consequences of my decisions than have to take the consequences of decisions which I do not agree with, but I have to follow. Life is not easy. Life is not easy when you follow the rules, because then you are suppressing yourself. And if I have one message for young women and young men across the world, it is that it's going to be tough anyway. So why don't you let it be tough and do your own thing, as long as it's not harming anybody? Learn to listen to your own self, your own calling. It's tough when you are shutting down yourself and listening to your family and doing exactly what you do not want to do. It's tough for young girls to be married off and go into a family where they listen to nothing but galis all the time. So why do it? Why not do something tough, but that gives you joy, that gives you pleasure, that gives you the possibility of being generous to the world, kind to the world? Because we live in a world where the rules that we have been following are destroying us. COVID has shown us this more than anything else. We are destroying other species, we are destroying the earth, and through that we are destroying ourselves. This is the time to take bold decisions, to say, I am not who my family name is, I am not the community I was born in, and whatever the world wants to do with greed and avarice, I am somebody who wishes to live in peace, in coexistence, knowing that I'm just a tiny portion of this amazing universe that we are set out to distinguish and to destroy. Be yourself, have the courage, blossom, let your fragrance spread through the world, and give people greater joy and greater courage.
When I wanted to start it and start with the cosmetics there, so I asked my husband to invest in a factory, and of course he said, no way, what are you going and how are you going to do it? So I said, okay, now let me just first do something and show him, and then let's get the money. And so I asked him, can you give me 1,000 rupees as pocket money, which he was very happy to give me. So I took that, and then for each facial I had made these special oils and creams, which of course we used to label and sell it to the client. So by the time I finished the 1,000, I got 2,000, and then it went on, the 2,000 became 4, and it went on like that till I made about 25 to 30, and it went even up to 40,000 at that time. When my husband came to me, he said, what are you doing? I said, I am doing this with the money that you gave me. So I had this little capital, and that's how I invested in it. And when he saw the products and when he saw how it was and things, and that is how I was marketing it, then we went in and we opened a factory, and that is how I started with this. And I always, from till now, I tell startups, never, of course you don't need to start like this, but never start too big, because when you start too big, there's a chance of failing, you have this risk, you have this stress. So always start small. That's the first thing. The next thing I always tell them is that you have to have an education. Know your subject well, really learn. If you're going into something, really learn it and know it thoroughly, so that if you can really make a go of it. And the third thing that I love to tell everyone is, learn all aspects of the business. You don't need to do all aspects, but you should know every aspect of this business. So like this, now I must tell you, beauty as a profession, like I have seen, it is the most glamorous profession, and it can really take you really to high places. There's so much you can do with it. You can be a beauty journalist, you can work in a salon, you can work only as a hair designer, as a color therapist, you can work in beauty, you can work as an esthetician, you can work in makeup. Now they all, and each of these have different lines. If you go in makeup, you can do bridal makeup, you can go into, apart from the bridal makeup, you can go into working in Bollywood, you can work as a freelance makeup artist, you can do like skin. Skin is something that is really important, because everybody should have a good skin. And then you can go into hair, and of course you can be a platform artist, which is wonderful. It gives you a lot of recognition, and apart from being a platform artist, you also get a lot of money, and it is a very lucrative business right now. You can work as a manager, you can work as a spa manager, you can work as a beauty salon manager, you can run your own salons, you can be an entrepreneur, you can go into, there is wide scope for this, really, I say. And it's a wonderful, wonderful profession. And apart from this, I've been grooming also, and personality development and grooming, which you can go into something like that as your profession, image consultant, and everybody needs to be well groomed, and that is where you can go into it. This is the most fantastic profession that you can ever go into, and it's wonderful, and it's so much fun, and you've got to make yourself look good, and you can make others look good. Apart from that, it's very healing, it helps a person's depression, and you're going to make that person feel confident, you're going to make that person feel wonderful. And when you make a person feel wonderful, you are going to be wonderful, and you can make everybody happy, because happy is most important. And like I always say, to be a success, you don't be a success first and then you say, I'll become happy. If you're happy, success is going to follow. So just go into this profession.